All right, so let's wrap this idea of energy up, and then next video we'll talk about Arizona. So looking at the global energy potential. So every year versus what we have on reserve. So every year via renewable resources, this is how much energy we can harness. Solar being the vast majority of it. All of that solar energy would more than replace, and that's every year, would replace the total reserves of coal, uranium, oil, natural gas. That's all we got. Every year we get more solar energy than all of those things combined that we have left. We don't utilize it. And with wind, hydro, whatever it may be. All right. So there's a lot of potential there. It's expensive as of now, but it's more than enough to go around. It's more than enough of an energy source to replace what we use and what we have left. Everything of coal, uranium, oil, natural gas. That's where we got to move to. That's where we need to move to. Because every year we only consume this much energy. This is 16 terawatts. But the sun produces on Earth, just on Earth, what we get on Earth, 23,000 terawatts every year. Doing some quick math, so the sun provides, let's see here, 23,000 divided by 16. Just from the sun alone, it gives us 1,437 times more energy than that we use in the whole year. Yet we only use a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of it. Why? Mostly because there's a lot of money from oil and coal and natural gas. There's a lot of money in the fossil fuel industry. Not just paying off politicians, but a lot of people. Dumb, I know. With this much energy from the sun, heck, we could, from the wind alone, we'd have enough to have enough energy for the entire Earth every year. Dumb, isn't it? So, the reason for that, though, is we can't just switch to energy or switch all to wind. It's just not feasible as of right now. There are things slowing that down, money, politics slowing that down, in which if that didn't exist, we could probably get there much faster, but we couldn't just flip the switch right now. So our energy future depends on efficiency, conservation, and the development of renewable and non-renewable energy sources. I think even nuclear, all right, throwing that in, because it's a good green energy source. So efficiency, creating things that use less energy but give you the same output. So TVs 10 years ago versus now, so they use much less energy. That means they're efficient. They're still TVs, but they're using less electricity, less energy. That's efficient. But also conservation, so just using less in general. Riding a bike instead of driving a car. So it's becoming more efficient in what we use, but also using less of it. All right. If the population of the Earth is going to increase, that's what we have to do. If you want to have more than 2 kids, you are adding to the problem because you are adding to the population. What I mean by that, if 2 parents have 2 kids, you're not adding to the population, you're just keeping it what it is. If you are having more than 2 kids, 3 or more, you're adding to the population, you're adding to the problem. So if that's what you want to do, you might want to think about efficiency, conservation. There will be a time where there will be no electricity. I hope I scare you, because it should be scary. So as of now, there's no single energy source that can replace non-renewable energy resources in a way that's completely renewable, non-polluting, and free of impacts in the environment. There's always something, all right? Also including there's cost and time and technology, etc. So there are some barriers. We can't just turn it all off and make everything solar right now. There's time that needs to progress. There's different hurdles that need to be jumped over. But a sustainable energy strategy in the present must combine, again, energy efficiency, energy conservation, development of renewable and non-renewable energy resources. I asked students sometimes in person, well, how are you, what do you do for the environment? How are you energy efficient? Oh, well, I recycle. Okay, that's good. Recycling is better than not recycling, but a couple of things. One, you're probably recycling wrong. I would say almost 100% of you that are watching this aren't recycling the way you should. Not everything that has a recyclable symbol can go in the recycle bin. For instance, styrofoam. You usually get food in styrofoam containers. There's a little recycle thing on there. You can't recycle it. Yes, it has a recycle sign, but in Avondale, you can't put that in the recycle bin. They don't have the facilities to do that. If you wanted to recycle styrofoam, it is potentially recyclable, but you have to take that to a special recycle facility. Or bags, any plastic bag is not recyclable. I see people throwing chip bags, grocery bags, all of that, garbage bags in the blue recycle containers outside your home. None of that's recyclable in Avondale. You have to take that to special facilities. So like grocery bags, if you use them, that's why there's those kind of big containers in the fronts of grocery stores, in the front of Walmart that takes those back. They take all of those and process them a special way. You can't just willy-nilly throw those in the recycle bin. They're not recyclable. They funks up the machine. The only things that are recyclable, for instance, in Avondale, metal cans, aluminum cans, like pop cans, or steel cans, like cans of beans and stuff. Some plastic, so like plastic soda bottles, but with those, or Gatorade bottles, but with those, you have to cut off the wrapper. That wrapper is not recyclable. You got to throw that away. I guarantee 100% of you watching this throw something incorrect into the recycle bin. Look it up. Look in your city. Look what is actually recyclable. I guarantee you're putting something that shouldn't be in there. All right. So when people say, "Oh, I recycle," that's great. It's better than non-recycling, as far as doing something for the environment and energy. That's great, but you're probably doing it wrong, and you're probably actually causing more harm than good. So think back to elementary school when they used to talk about reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Recycle is the third one because that's the least you can do for the environment, for energy concerns. It's better than nothing, but that's the least thing you can. That's why it's third. Reduce, you should reduce. So that's conservation, cutting back. All right, cutting back on driving, cutting back on whatever else. All right, not doing that stuff. And if you can't reduce, reuse things. Like, for instance, if you have, oftentimes I get, pasta in glass jars. I reuse those glass jars all the time. Reuse. And if you can't reduce your consumption, or if you can't reuse something, then you recycle. It's the least you can do. Just throwing that out there. So, a sustainable energy strategy, you got to consider the cost, benefits, limitations of each energy source. Again, we can't just all of a sudden switch to wind. It's going to take time and money to put those up, find places to put them. It takes time to hook all those up, right? And the cost of them, etc. So we can't make that switch. So we have to rely somewhat on non-renewable resources until we can get to using renewable resources. The convenience, reliability, logistical considerations are also important. You can't just go putting solar panels up in the middle of the road. So there's a lot of things to consider. So I often get asked, what's the best thing we can do for the environment? What's the best way to kind of reduce energy usage? What's the best thing we can do for the planet? There are a few things, and they are never fun, but this is the truth. This is the best way to reduce your impact on Earth and make it survivable for your kids. And if you don't, there's not going to be an Earth for your kids. This is not one of those conspiracy theory talks I'm about to give you. This is a reality. It's a hard reality. But if we don't change what we're doing and continue down the same path, let's continue to buy cars that use all this oil, and let's continue to burn coal, and which could be a very real reality. Think about what, one half of the political spectrum focuses on using that stuff because they're getting paid to say that, fossil fuels are good. How powerful that is, and how they scare you into saying, these other things won't work. There's no sun, so you can't use solar at night when there's no sun. Yeah, but there's batteries. Oh, well, the windmills, they're ugly. They're actually kind of cool looking. So in any case, there's a whole fraction of politicians that say, fossil fuels are good and alternative energy sources suck, which is not the case. It's hard to overcome that. So what can you personally do, right? You can't rely on others. What can you personally do? This is what needs to be done. And this is the hard truth. I'm not making any judgment here. I'm just telling you the best ways to positively impact the earth? When I get asked this question, this is what I say. 1, wait to have kids and or get a college degree. Obviously, all of you are in college. Typically, on average, with a college degree, an average age of a mother is 30 years old. For those mothers that don't have a college degree, their average age is 23 years old. Wait to have kids. Slow down your adding to the population. Best way to do that is either one, just wait and say, I'm not going to have kids until whatever, I'm 30. Or get a college degree. You're going to not only benefit the environment by typically that's going to pause when you have kids, but you're also going to provide a better future for those kids. Again, I'm not trying to pass any judgment if you have kids, if you have a bunch of them, if you had them when you're 18, whether male or female, right? But this is one of the best ways. Wait to have kids and or get a college degree. That helps in the waiting, all right? Next, here's a good list of things. Again, so this is kind of personal choices to reduce your contribution to climate change. A lot of it tied to energy usage. So recycling is very low, right? Oh, I changed all my light bulbs to energy efficient light bulbs. Okay, great. That's really low on this scale, right? I only use cold water because hot water uses my hot water heater, electricity or gas to heat up the water. Well, I use only cold water to wash my clothes. Okay, great. Very low on the spectrum. Something, as you get up, well, I switched to a hybrid or an electric car. Okay, that's great. That's good too. I eat only a plant-based diet. I personally am mostly vegan, so that has a big impact. That has a great impact on energy usage, much more than recycling or doing any of the others, replacing light bulbs in your home. If you live completely car-free, even better. But all the way at the top, all right, the thing that is about 30 times more than just not having a car. The number one thing you can do is have fewer kids. Wait to have kids and have fewer of them, 2 or less. If you have more, again, I'm not passing any judgment for if you have 3 or 5 kids or whatever. That is the number one thing that is harming the earth. It's not the earth's issue, it's an us issue. If there's not as many people, we can't use as many resources, we can't put as much pollution into the air. It's a people issue. So another big thing we can do instead of waiting to have kids is just have fewer kids, 2 or less. Again, if you have a mother and a father, which it usually takes to create kids, if you have 2 kids, then they're only replacing you when you die, right? If you have 3 or more, you're adding to the population. Or if you have less than 2, that's helping. Again, I'm not passing judgment, but that's why I chose to only have 1 child. No judgment passed here whatsoever. That was a personal choice. But that's the number one thing you can do by 30 times. All right, you and 30 people can get rid of all your cars and walk and ride your bike everywhere. Great. If just one of those people had 1 less kid, same thing, same deal. And then there's one more thing that can have far-reaching impact. But for serious, the kid situation is pretty big. Whether you wait or have less kids. The other thing you could always do, vote. My goodness gracious. Damn it, just get out there and vote. All right? I'm not telling you how to vote, but, the biggest issues in this country are education and the environment. Well, what about jobs? Better education, better job. That's what it is. Those are the 2 top issues. Education and the environment. If the environment's not good, we're not going to be around. The way we're currently going, your kids, maybe your kids' kids, will probably be the last ones on Earth. Last humans on Earth. Not a conspiracy theory, not a joke. Things need to change. Things need to change fast. Voting, and not just for the president. That has the least impact on your daily life. But that's the things most people vote for. Not even, senator. That's great. Vote for president. Vote for senators. Vote for representatives. But I'm talking the state level, the city level. Those are actually the things that have an impact on your daily life. You got to vote for all that crap too. Not a conspiracy. It is what it is. Things need to change, folks. Things need to change. We'll pause here. When we come back, we'll talk about electricity generation in Arizona, and that's where we'll wrap it up.